What an unbelievable weekend of college football. Welcome into Got It Covered. I'm Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani. Brother, we came into this thing and we talked about week 5 as possibly the week of the year. And in every single way possible, it delivered from Friday night all the way until it was over late on Saturday, almost on Sunday. Unbelievable football across the board. All of the top matchups lived up to the moment. Awesome weekend of college football, man.
Yeah, it's very rare that because this is, like I said last week, the type of slate we were hyping up for months. It's very rare that that type of slate lives up to the hype. I think it's even more rare when it exceeds the hype. And I think that this did because not only were all the games excellent, but they were all really good, and they each had their own sets of twists and turns with their own drama. Even in the offseason, we weren't looking at a game like Florida State, Virginia. We laughed at that game. That was one of the best games of the year, wound up being. So it just exceeded the hype in every way as well. And I think that's something we shouldn't take for granted either. So the type of slate where you'll remember where you were when you planted yourself, probably on your couch, and ordered the Wingstop and had a good time. I know I did for sure.
It also felt like the kind of a weekend where the college football world kind of got flipped on its head in a way with the teams
Yep.
that won and the teams that lost. And of course, that makes the chaos that much more entertaining. And for people that cover it from a sports media standpoint, that makes the storylines fantastic.
Yeah, it makes things complicated. And I think you saw that in the AP poll, which, listen, we could talk about the AP poll for an hour, but it's like after, we have a clear cut top 3 now in college football. After that, it is an absolute mess. I think you saw it reflected in the amount of votes that certain teams got versus others, that it was like, we have no idea what to do
Sure.
with these teams. And so I don't envy the job of AP poll voters nor the college football playoff committee in a month or so when the time comes for them to drop their rankings. But it's been a chaotic first month. And this week certainly didn't help make it any less chaotic. The picture's muddy, but that's the way we like it, man. We like the drama. We like things to be interesting, and it'll all sort itself out. But right now, it's a beautiful mess. It's like a Pablo Picasso painting.
Out of pure curiosity, before we dive into breaking down some of the biggest games of the weekend, what would be your top 3 if you were to shape it right now? Because you said there's a clear cut top 3, and I agree with you, but people's opinions are differing on what the order of
Right.
those 3 should be.
Right. In the top 3 in the AP poll, each received first place votes, right? Ohio State stays number 1. I think Oregon jumps up to number 2, and then Miami drops to number 3 on an idle week, which, fine. Gio, I think the eye test tells me Miami should be number 1. I think Oregon has the best win of the 3, going to Penn State and beating that team in the whiteout. But I think Ohio State's still the way they've played. Obviously, they're the defending national champs, right? So that speaks for itself. And I think the way that they have dominated every game, I think their defense is just outrageous. They've not given up double-digit points in a game this year.
Yeah.
They've not played a murderer's row of offenses either, but that speaks for itself, man. And they don't give up touchdowns. They are playing very sound. Their offense hasn't even woken up yet. So I think those 3 are definitely the clear-cut top 3. I'd probably have – it's hard for me not to put Miami 1, but I'd probably put Ohio State 1, Miami 2, Oregon 3. But I could hear arguments for Miami 1 and Ohio State 2.
I understand people's thought process of essentially putting last year's national champion at number 1 until proven otherwise. I do get that. I've always been the belief, though, especially in this modern era of collegiate athletics that you currently see with so much turnover and year after year, things looking so different, and the coaching staff being very different at Ohio State, besides the head man in Ryan Day. I think you can't do that anymore. I don't think that you
last
can
year is
take
last year.
Right. Last year. Awesome accomplishment, but you have to start fresh. Ohio State's done a great job in doing that. Don't get me wrong. I think eye test wise, with who they've played, the win over Notre Dame, playing against Florida's defense. Obviously, Florida has issues galore. I do think Miami is the best team in the country right now. Just the way that they can battle in the trenches, man, is so impressive to me. They're humming on that offensive side of the ball, and their defense is so much improved. So I'd put Miami 1. I think Oregon 2, because of the win that's under their belt, obviously in the whiteout at Penn State, and we're going to break that down in just a couple of minutes here. And then I would put Ohio State 3, but there's a serious argument for all three of those teams probably to be the number one team in the country, which is an awesome problem to have. If you will. So to break down for everybody what today's show is going to look like, we'll timestamp it for you as well. We're going to talk Alabama, Georgia first. Then we're going to talk about Oregon's win on the road at Penn State. After that, we're going to talk about Ole Miss beating LSU in Oxford. We're going to round out the show by deep diving into UVA's win over Florida State in the ACC. And then at the end, we're going to just give some notes and some quick glances at some of the other important games that definitely took place this weekend that deserve attention, that deserve talking about. But we won't do a full-blown, in-depth, deep dive on those games, if you will. So you ready to get this thing rolling, man?
I was born ready, man.
I know. You and I have been talking about doing this show since before kickoff on Saturday. Yep. So we've been excited for it. And here we are. It's finally here. Alabama rolls into Athens, Georgia, and takes down the Dogs 24-21, the final score. This was a Ryan Grubb masterclass on the offensive side of the football for the Crimson Tide. Kudos to Kalen DeBoer, because remember all of the things we were saying about Alabama after they had lost to Florida State? And instead, he goes into Athens, SEC play, massive game, and what's turned into arguably the best rivalry in the Southeastern Conference in this generation of college football, and they take it to him. And Alabama looks so good all night. Quarterback Ty Simpson was elite. I'm talking NFL level elite in this game. I truly believe after watching Ty Simpson play against Georgia, he looked like the best quarterback in college football. I mean, he looked next level. And I want to break down some of the numbers here for you because Bama gets off to this awesome start. They start 7-7 on third down in this game in 2 possessions to go up 14-0. And it just felt like Ty Simpson's pulse was steady the entire time. I mean, it was just so impressive how they were able to chunk their way down the field. Simpson to Horton, that connection was unbelievable. Ryan Williams later in the game makes up for some oopsies really throughout the whole early portion of the season. He goes through a car crash and hangs on to the football in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's so much we can dive into with this game, so I want to toss the keys to you. But overarching here, I was just so impressed with Alabama's readiness to play, how physically ready they were to play, and then how precise Ty Simpson was at quarterback.
Yeah, you got to start with Alabama because they won the game. They deserve the respect. They're now, we said this game means probably more to Alabama because they can completely flip the narrative with one game and one performance. That's what they did, particularly on offense. The story of this game was their offense.
Yeah.
I understand Georgia's defense is not what we've come to expect, right? We saw them get gashed by Tennessee. So I'm not surprised that Alabama moved the ball on them. I'm surprised by how efficient it was and how early it started. I mean, they scored on their first 2 drives. They were up 14-0 before you blinked. And these were they weren't necessarily explosive drives. They were methodical.
Yes.
They're doing it on the ground with Jam Miller. They're doing it through the air with Ty Simpson. It could have been quick if Ryan Williams didn't drop that pass, that deep shot early I think it was in the first quarter.
Yes.
So they were getting everything that they wanted offensively. And to your point, Ty Simpson looked like an NFL quarterback. I mean, every single drive he had a throw that I was like, it's NFL level execution from the pre-snap to going through his progressions. He was going 1, 2, 3 and hitting his backside read several times throughout the game.
Yeah.
And these Alabama wide receivers stepped up and made plays. They took advantage of Georgia's inconsistency on defense. And I mean, we've got really, really big problems on that Georgia defense, which again, we can talk about it. We've been able to talk about, I should say, for a while now. I do think that third downs where the game was won and lost. There was a time, you said they started 7 for 7. There was a time where they were 12 of 14 on third down. It was everything that they wanted.
They went 13-19 for the game. 13-19.
Yeah, they slowed down scoring. So Alabama did not score in the second half of this game because Georgia kind of caught up defensively. And I do want to say, I think Georgia lost to two teams on Saturday night. I think they lost to Alabama and they also lost to themselves. Like there was every opportunity for Georgia to come back and take a lead in that game.
Sure.
But the true freshman receiver drops that pass that Stockton puts in a bucket. And then I think on the next drive, they drive deep into Alabama territory. They try and go quick and catch them napping on a 4th and 1. They run an outside run that's completely snuffed out. I think it was LT Overton who made that play for Alabama.
Yep.
They had every opportunity to come back and win that game, and they just couldn't because the defense caught up and kept them in it in the second half. But because the offense was unable to do anything with it, then Alabama goes on that late drive and puts the game away again with that methodical thing that we saw early in the game. So Alabama starts and ends the game offensively perfectly in such a way that even if their defense slipped up a little bit, Georgia couldn't take advantage of it. Bama said, all right, if you guys don't want to win it, we'll do it ourselves.
Listen to these first two drives for Alabama. I mean, seriously. 14 plays, 74 yards, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. That's after Georgia goes 3 and out to start the game in 49 seconds. Second Alabama drive after Georgia punts in 4 plays. 14 plays, 83 yards, 6 minutes and 57 seconds. I mean, that if you're a Georgia fan, you have to be thinking in your head, here we go again. Thinking about last year's game, right? Where they just took it to them. But that's a different level of methodical. 14 plays, taking almost 7 minutes off the clock both times. One of them 75 yards, the other one 83 yards. I mean, those are big boy, take it to you, punch you in the face kind of drives that take up almost a quarter of football. Crazy. And I think
it's hard to get punched in the mouth and pick yourself up again. But Georgia, to their credit, was able to do that, right? They respond with that touchdown by Colby Young, right, to make it 14-7. And then they get the ball back. That was a heck
of a move with the single coverage. When he gets open there, that was a heck of a move.
And then they get the ball back because the defense gives them the ball back, but they fumbled it right back to Alabama. And then, again, you're down 2 possessions. Like, that's why, again, I feel like Georgia lost to themselves. Like, Kirby will be the first person to tell you that Georgia doesn't play up to their standard in a game. Like, they deserve to lose. They were the inferior team.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very apparent in a game like this, where it's not like last year where you can say, oh, they dug themselves into that hole, then they came back, but then they threw a pick at the end of the game after Ryan Williams makes that play. Like, there's 3 or 4 different instances where you can point to a spot for Georgia and say, if they just had not done this, there's a real shot they could have won. Now, did they deserve to lose? I do think absolutely. But they could not take advantage of anything that was given to them either, and I think that's a problem.
The 13 third down conversions for Alabama was the most against a Georgia defense in 30 years.
That's insane.
Insane. And on top of that, penalties. Remember Kalen DeBoer in Alabama came in as penalties being a serious problem for them and one of the most penalized teams in power conference football. 4 penalties for 16 yards. Georgia, only 6 penalties. So compared to 4, it's like, but 68 yards in penalties.
Yeah. Very untimely.
That's a huge contrast in this game. 16 yards to 68 yards in penalties. And then you mentioned it. Talon Taylor, the true freshman, drops the wide open 50-yard touchdown. It's a perfect throw from Gunnar Stockton. I mean, it was a beautiful throw. Georgia ends up punting there. At that point, the score was 24-21. So that definitely shifted the tides of this thing. Because Georgia would have taken the lead on that play.
Yeah, and again, timeliness, because Ellis Robinson pulls the diving headbutt essentially on the unsportsmanlike or unnecessary roughness at the end of the game to give Alabama better field position. And at that point, Georgia was still behind the 8 ball with timeouts, but that was an idiotic penalty from a kid who should know better. I know he's just a freshman, but you got to know better.
Yeah.
So again, I feel like Georgia lost to 2 teams, but that's not a statement you ever want to have about your team, that they beat themselves. But Alabama deserves the lion's share of who beat Georgia on Saturday night because they took it to them. To your point, they were the better team in every single facet, except for the missed kick early in the game, which, by the way, was like the funniest, most badly missed kick I've ever seen in my life. It was like the only mistake Alabama made all night because anything that again, Ryan Williams has that drop but makes up for it later. When Georgia made mistakes, they could not make up for them. They always felt like they were behind the 8 ball. And Gio, I honestly think this comes down to the fact that the Bulldogs have a mental block against the Crimson Tide. You see it so many times that a team just fails to execute against a certain opponent because the moment feels too big for them or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Tennessee if the game against Georgia.
Exactly. We've seen it now, almost for a decade now in that rivalry, right? A team, no matter if the game's in Athens or Tuscaloosa or Atlanta or Mars, you just have a mental block that doesn't allow you to succeed. And we keep seeing that time and time again with Georgia. It's just the nature of this rivalry. They are unable to win it. I am baffled by it, but it's one of those things where we should be disappointed but not surprised.
I thought that Josh Pate put it really well when talking about Kirby Smart in Georgia in this scenario that we're living in a modern world of college football where the times are changing. No longer are you going to be able to stockpile the rosters that a place like Georgia and before them Alabama and these elite programs. And really, when you think about it, there was like one or two. It wasn't like a 5-horse race. It was like Georgia for their run, Alabama for their run, and like Clemson for their run. Like I'm talking dynastic stockpiling of talent.
Mm-hmm.
And those days are gone. That's not something you can do anymore. And so if Georgia doesn't have that, how are they going to adapt? That's going to be the challenge for Kirby Smart and company because talent-wise and just roster depth-wise, this is not the same. This is not the same program that it once was. So now you have to win on Saturday. And that comes down to coaching a lot of time. You can't lean on this stockpile of talent anymore. You have to have the guys that can go be dudes and win on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the challenge.
Their coordinators are leaving left and right. I mean, Todd Monken now in the NFL with the Baltimore. So like in Kirby's elite, but often the head coach position at in the college ranks is like a CEO position.
Right.
It's really the guys under you who are making things happen between the lines. And right now, Georgia doesn't have the guys wearing the headsets that can make things happen between, no matter how talented they might be. And then to your point, I also think their defensive talent is not what it once was, because even though you're bringing in high-level athletes, the coaching is just not there. And I think this is a situation where the coaching seems to be there for Alabama. On the one hand, I'm like, wow, Florida State looks better after this. But then on the other hand, Florida State just lost to Virginia. So I think this is just a great situation for Alabama to be in, where they're like, hey, look, we are still not dead in the water. And I think, honestly, I know they're not the highest ranked team right now because other teams above them in the conference have losses. I think they're 10 now. Yeah. I think Alabama right now should be viewed as the best team in the SEC, in my opinion.
I 1,000,000,000% agree with you. I do think after watching that Saturday that they're the best team in the SEC. We can also say about Georgia, though, Georgia probably should have another loss under their belt. Kirby was the first to say they should have lost at Tennessee.
Yeah, they're the fourth down Gunnar Stockton throw away from being, 2-2? So
or a made field goal by Tennessee.
That's true.
They're a made field goal away. And that's out of their control.
And this is coming off a year where they lost 2 games in 2024.
Right.
Could have lost more if it wasn't for the Georgia Tech game or some other stuff that they got away with down the stretch. So, yeah, listen, the last thing I'll say about Georgia, it's just funny because I saw a lot of TikToks about it, is no amount of playing the all quiet on the Western Front soundbite, the horns, like on every defensive play, is going to make your defense play any better. I feel bad for the Georgia students or anybody that was at the game. Anybody who watched the game with the sound on, bro, I'm like, I cannot listen to this one more time. I cannot listen to this sound effect one more time. How about instead of playing that sound effect to make opposing offenses scared of you, you coach and play better on defense to make opposing offenses scared of you.
There you go. You feel better now?
I do, dude. It was every play. It was every play.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't pick up on that,
dude. The horn that's like da na na, like every play.
I didn't.
boggled my mind.
I'll have to pay better attention next time, I guess.
I'll
That's
s- I'll
funny.
send I'll send you. Somebody's gonna make a cut up of every time they played it. It's gonna be like a 10-minute video. I swear to God.
All right. All right. Well, Alabama takes down Georgia. Huge win for the Crimson Tide. Question marks moving forward for the Dogs. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about that other primetime matchup that was taking place in Happy Valley. The Penn State Whiteout and Oregon rolls in, takes down Penn State. Double overtime thriller, instant classic of a game. 30-24, the final score. Dan Lanning and the Ducks get it done. Oh, what an awesome football game. These were two tremendous football games, period. And this one in particular, man. First half stalemate. We were texting like, man, this is a bit of a boring football game at the break. Not that we don't love defense, but this is a mess in the middle of the field. Felt like a soccer game. And then it really turned up a notch. I gotta say, it almost felt like, listen, Oregon was the better team and deserved to win. So I'm almost glad in that sense that they won, because for 3.5 quarters of this game, they looked like the better team throughout.
Mhm.
And then they did win the football game. That being said, I felt like they had a couple opportunities to put Penn State away and didn't. And to James Franklin and Penn State's credit, they just hung in there. And then boom, when it was time to go, they went. They went. So this was a heck of a football game, man. Want to get your thoughts on it. Biggest thing that stood out to me as far as a number to support the fact that I thought Oregon was the better team for 3.5 quarters. They outgained Penn State 424 to 276.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that tells you a lot of what you need to know as far as Oregon being the better team.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, Gio, I have so much less to talk about here because I thought Oregon should have won the game by double digits in regulation, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
agree.
They go for that fourth down, up by 7, right? Like deep in Penn State territory instead of going for the field goal. They score untouched on the running play on the beautiful design, right? Penn State, I don't know if the safety or linebacker just played it too far outside. The middle of the field was wide open for the running back to score. The camera pans to Dan Lanning. He's like, it's over. And I was like, well, he better hope that it's over. And to that point, like up to that point in the game, I was like, there's no way Penn State comes back from this because they are refusing to let Drew Aller rip it. They had nothing going downfield, and I couldn't tell if it was because they didn't want to throw the ball downfield or because Oregon was clamping up. Well, it turns out they just didn't want to, because on the next drive, down by 14, finally they had to have a sense of urgency. They let Drew Aller rip it, and they scored instantly.
Yeah.
And he dropped that beautiful pass.
That was a heck of a throw.
Right in the bucket to Devontae Ross, who, listen, we had to hear all offseason, and you honestly preached it when you were talking about how Penn State was, I think, your preseason national champ, because they remade that wide receiver room with all those transfers. Dude, they've done nothing, and they are not doing anything in a game like this. They were brought in to be the difference maker in a game like this, and they weren't.
But they're not using them.
Exactly. I don't know why. I feel like the coaching staff does not trust Drew Aller.
Yeah.
And I think you understand why in a game like this, where you see the epic highs and epic lows of the Drew Aller roller coaster. Yeah. But to that, on the flip side, like, Nick Singleton did nothing in this game. I think the stat line is 11 carries for 21 yards.
Katron Allen was the better back in this game.
Katron Allen was a difference maker down the stretch, and on the game tying drive, I think, and then the first drive of overtime where they took the lead, like, they really leaned on him.
They used him, yeah.
But then obviously Drew Aller throws the pick in double overtime and it's game over. But Oregon, in my opinion, was such a better team in this game. I thought if Penn State won it, it was going to be the steal of all steals, because they did not deserve to win it with the way they coached, with the way they executed, with the way that they kind of went about their business, man. Oregon was moving the ball pretty well. If it wasn't for a missed field goal, they probably would have won in regulation. I thought Dante Moore played an absolutely stellar game. You talk about best quarterbacks in college football, his name has to be in the conversation. he just made play after play. And you made that point about Ty Simpson staying here. Man, Dante Moore did not blink. He was here the whole time as well. For a kid his age, that is really, really impressive. Playing essentially your first real road game of the year, where they were absolutely silencing that whiteout crowd from the get-go. I mean, the first half they were kind of feeling each other out, right? We have that adage about heavyweight boxers taking the first few rounds to just kind of get a sense of what the other guy's up to. That's what this first half was. And then I thought that third quarter and early in the fourth, Oregon just dominated. And they ran the ball extremely effectively. Dante Moore was awesome. DeCorian Moore, I think, continues to be one of the best freshmen, definitely the best freshman receiver, I think, in college football this year. So I have so much less to say, Gio, because I just feel like Oregon clearly was the better team in this game. Clearly. Like, if Georgia had beaten Alabama, it would have been a steal-ish. If Penn State had won this game, it would have been highway robbery.
Yeah.
And granted, Oregon let them back in it at the tail end, but this proved we both had Oregon winning this game. I didn't think it would be as emphatic as it was. And I know that the circumstance and scoreboard doesn't say it was emphatic, but if you watch the game, man, they really pushed Penn State around.
I genuinely, outside of a couple of plays, and you mentioned the highs and the lows of Drew Aller, I genuinely think that Drew Aller is holding the team back.
Yeah, I agree. I think dude, I saw a tweet that was like, I bet Penn State secretly wanted Drew Aller to go pro last year so they could start Prebula this year. But instead, Prebula's at Missouri playing really well.
Yeah.
Cooking. And they're dealing with Drew Aller, who, to your point, is holding the team back.
Yeah.
He puts a ceiling on the offense, not because of his talent, but because of his decision making. And it's been a problem. Dude, the dude is a third-year starter. This cannot possibly still be happening, but it is.
I thought the game was over when Oregon goes on, and you had touched on it. The 10-play, 75-yard scoring drive to go up 17-3. I thought it was over at that point, right? Because you're already deep into this game. Like, this game did not get humming. It wasn't like, okay, after halftime it got humming. No, it got humming with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And remember, what got it going was Whittington's fumble that Penn State took away, and then they take the fumble away. Oregon ends up scoring a touchdown instead. You got the Hill touchdown on the screen pass. He gets in for 6. I will say, I know they say that his knee touched the tops of the blades of the grass.
That's BS.
I do not think he was down.
Yeah, I thought that was BS.
I was stunned that they overturned that, especially because the ruling on the field was a fumble. So they consider that indisputable video evidence that his knee touched the blades of grass.
I mean,
I was stunned. And it was at Penn State too. Not that matters, but like that atmosphere of whiteout, you naturally, your subconscious leans into those things.
And I just know there's Oregon fans. I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming if I searched it, it would come true. There's got to be Oregon fans clamoring online that are like, well, Eric Dyer was down in the 2010 national championship game, whatever. Because they still talk about that in Eugene, which is fair. That was a national championship game. But like, Oregon's been involved in this more times than I can count, with a guy being down or not down. I'm stunned that they overturned it. But I guess if the rule is if you come into contact with the ground, then it's over. So I guess I blame the Penn State grounds crew. You gotta mow that lawn, boys.
I just that lawn. I just don't know how it was undisputable that his knee touches a blade of grass. Like, because his knee was clearly not like fully on the ground.
Yeah, it was. It grazed.
Was hovering.
I don't think he thought he was down. I
still think it's a fumble.
I still think it's a fumble as well. But is that a guarantee that Penn State scores on that drive, or that the game ends any differently?
No, but it would have taken Oregon wouldn't have scored a touchdown there.
I agree. But for me, that's less like the Georgia drop, for example. If the ball is caught, that was 6. It's guaranteed he scores. Yeah. It's guaranteed Georgia.
I can't believe that kid dropped the ball.
we have a drop problem across football at both levels and all levels. But
It's the LED
who
lights.
Maybe, or it's the all quiet on the Western Front soundboard that's ruining everybody's lives. So it's not like that play completely changed things for Penn State, because it was also the third quarter, right? That Georgia play happened in the fourth quarter. But I do think Penn State got robbed on that front. But they have nobody to blame but themselves. And James Franklin is now 4-21 against top 10 opponents in his tenure.
Insane.
They have not beaten a top 10 team since when exactly? Like, I don't know when the last time they did it was. It's been so long.
Buddy, I got a trivia piece for you. James Franklin's 2-21 against AP top 6 opponents, right? There's only one coach in the history of college football with a worse record against AP top 6 opponents. Who is it?
Are they currently coaching?
They are not.
Did they recently get fired?
No.
Worse than 2-21?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to hurt your soul a little bit. Frank Beamer, 2-24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Frank Beamer of Virginia Tech. I know, when I saw that, my jaw hit the floor. And I was going to text it to you, and I held back because I said I want to see his reaction on the show.
Yeah, that does hurt my soul a little bit.
Doesn't
I guess I'm not
hurt?
surprised. But I do think, for what it's worth, I'd love to see the numbers on how many of those games were the Hokies favored in.
Probably not a lot of them.
And so I don't know, can't recall if I was talking to you or somebody else about this. I told myself I was going to snag, and I did, Oregon money line before, early in the day on Saturday. Because so many times I like to wait till kickoff, because the wise guy money comes in on a side that I think is the sharp side and I can get it at better value. I was sure that the wise guy money was going to come in on Oregon closer to kickoff. It came in on Penn State. Penn State closed as 4.5-point favorites in this game. Why that was the case, I have no idea. And they once again showed you that they don't have the mental fortitude to win these games. They just, it's a trend, man.
It's a program.
It is a systemic problem. It is a systemic problem. And
that's the perfect way to put it. Yeah. And last point I have on this game is there was actually a point where Oregon again had an opportunity to continue to assert themselves, probably pull away further, and not let this thing even have a chance at a comeback. Remember the offensive unsportsmanlike conduct that cost the Ducks?
That's true.
They end up having to punt there when they were humming. Could have killed a ton of clock. The way they were moving the ball probably would have scored points. Mm-hmm. And instead you end up having to punt the ball. So again, things that give Penn State a chance, because that's when Penn State went on its 15-play, 62-yard drive that took 6 minutes and 37 seconds off the clock. If they had won the game, that would have been the drive of the year.
Yeah.
15 plays, darn near 7 minutes to tie the game. I mean, listen to this. Drew Aller, quarterback keeper on 3rd and 9 for 20 yards. Singleton, 4th and 1 conversion. Aller, 4th and 1 conversion. Katron Allen, 3rd and inches conversion to get 1st and goal. And then an awesome play call on the Ross touchdown to even it at 17 all with 30 seconds left. That would have been the drive of the year if they had won this game somehow. Yeah,
and it was hard to think that after that they weren't going to win. They snatched momentum.
Yeah.
And then they scored
I thought they were going to win when it went to overtime. Yeah.
And then they scored like this in overtime. But Oregon, I think, converted a 4th down where Dante Moore scrambled on a 4th and 1 in the first overtime, and then they score. Then they score like this in the second overtime, and then Drew Aller throws a pick. It crumbled so fast for Penn State. 1 play away from winning on a 4th down in overtime, and then 3 plays later, your game is over.
Why Aller threw that into triple coverage? It was more like double coverage with somebody shading. I just didn't see I don't know where that ball was going, because I regardless if Thieneman was there or not, I don't think it was a good choice.
No.
But I will say, Dylan Thieneman going up to grab that was a heck of a play. That was why he was one of the biggest safety targets in the portal.
Yep, he played it perfect. He played it perfectly. Shade the flat, then come up. I mean, that's how you play cover 2.
Dude, Oregon almost lost this game because they fumbled in overtime.
And then they got it back.
The last thing, did you think that was targeting? I thought it was targeting.
I did, but who knows what targeting is anymore?
It doesn't matter because Oregon.
What did they say on the broadcast? Is like the hairline of the helmet. I've never heard that phrase in my life.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty much the definition of targeting.
Yeah,
but I do.
Like he's getting exploded backwards. Yeah. That's probably targeting.
I did appreciate, I guess, like the thought of let's not let an officiating decision decide this game. But at the same time, when something's that blatant, your hand is forced. So it's like, what way do you go with that? Didn't matter literally at all. Oregon scored a touchdown. The only thing that changed is that kid doesn't have to sit out the first half of next week. Really.
That's right.
So didn't really impact anything, but could have been a serious piece of controversy.
It definitely could have been. I think coming out of this game, it's Penn State's the same old Penn State, and now all of a sudden you've got such a little margin for error the rest of the way. We assume they're going to lose to Ohio State. That means they got to win the rest of their games, and they weren't super convincing when they were playing nobody before this game. Now all of a sudden Oregon's got a really interesting thing going. Indiana at Oregon in 2 weeks becomes a fascinating game that I can't wait to watch.
You got two Heisman contending quarterbacks going at it, and Fernando Mendoza, and of course your boy that balled out yesterday. So, or I guess Saturday. The week flies by on you. This was an awesome game. My final takeaway is I think Penn State does not have quarterback play that can win them a national championship.
Correct.
Or a Big Ten championship for that matter. And I think on the other side, Oregon, we have to look at as serious title contenders. And I also think that they have the front runner for the Heisman right now taking snaps.
Probably.
I think Dante Moore is that good. So mostly because John Mateer is going to miss some time.
That's true.
Otherwise, we'd really have two dudes duking it out.
That's true.
So, let's move on to this next game. Oxford, Mississippi. Number 4 LSU rolls into town to take on number 13 Ole Miss. You got the drama all week long. Whit Weeks dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. Lane Kiffin calling for the over on Twitter. How could you not absolutely love Lane Kiffin? But besides all of that, one of the biggest home games at Ole Miss that I can remember in recent time, with the opportunity that was on the table, that fan base delivered. The place was a zoo, and Ole Miss looked like the better team, similar to Oregon, the entire football game. I mean, I thought Ole Miss had the opportunity to win this game by multiple possessions. That's how good I thought Ole Miss was for the majority of this game. 24-19, the final score. Trinidad Chambliss. Dude is so fun to watch. Really fun quarterback.
He's a dog.
He is. And he reminds me, especially because of his size and body type. Now, the player I'm about to name is 5'11". He's 6'1". A little different, but he looks similar out there playing. He reminds me of like a vintage Russell Wilson, dude.
It's a good comparison.
Because he's got some serious wheels when he's taken off, but he also can absolutely rip it. Like his throws are on a rope. He hums it in there, man. And I think he's a really good quarterback, obviously, but I think he's really moving up into a different tier of quarterback here. And it just goes to show this kid came from Ferris State. Look at all these places paying all this money to bring in all these quarterbacks to win football games. And Lane Kiffin saying, I'm going to bring in this kid from Ferris State to be my backup. And now he's rolling with him and winning giant games with him and looking like a serious SEC contender. And if you're an SEC contender, you're a playoff contender, no question about it. So I was just so impressed with Ole Miss. I want to give you the floor a little bit here, but I thought Trinidad Chambliss was unreal. I think LSU can't run the football to save their life. I think Garrett Nussmeier is still not 100%, and that showed. But I thought Ole Miss's offense took it to LSU's defense, and we hadn't seen anybody do that yet this year.
Yeah, Ole Miss won this game the way I expected them to, which was let their offense make enough plays against a stout LSU defense and trust that LSU's not going to be able to figure out their own offense. That's essentially exactly what happened, although I I didn't expect Ole Miss to move the ball, I guess, as well as they did, because I don't think the final score reflects like how dominant they were offensively. They had a fumble, I think, deep in LSU territory, right? They had that pick that almost let LSU back in it, but they couldn't convert it into a touchdown. They only got a field goal out of it.
That was the
So,
one play that I was like, poor decision by Chambliss.
yeah, I agree. Other than that, Trinidad I thought played a phenomenal game. You're right. He's a lot of fun to watch. Maybe it's because they wear the same number, but he reminds me a hell of a lot of the kid they had last year, Jackson Dart.
Sure.
They play inspired. The guys clearly love playing for them. And for me, this almost felt like Lane Kiffin just telling Brian Kelly, like, hey, your time is up, old man. Like, the future is now.
Yeah.
I thought going for that 4th down to ice the
yeah.
game was just a money decision.
Yes.
People who were like, they should kick a field goal. You want to kick a 53-yard field goal to ice to not even ice the game, just to make it an 8-point game?
Or 8, yeah.
Yes, it's
Would
7
it be
or
7?
8. Like,
let's see.
they won 24-19, so 8. Yeah.
8. Okay, yeah.
So still a 1-score game. Like, no, dude, end the game on your terms. It doesn't matter how well your defense is playing or how bad that offense is. End the game on your terms. And Virginia Tech legend Daquan Wright seals it with the 1st down. By the way, he has been
he's unreal.
Phenomenal. Is he the best tight end in the SEC, not named Eli Stowers right now? Like, he's elite.
They targeted him a ton in this game. How many yards did he have in this game?
He's gonna be second team all ACC. I think he's gonna be second team all SEC. At this rate, there's a really good chance. He has turned into a weapon for them. On offense. LSU's defense can only do so much. That's been the story, right? Like, they're able to do it when DJ Lagway is spoon feeding them 5 interceptions, but against competent offenses, man, they don't have what it takes to overcome how bad their offense is. And for Brian Kelly, who told reporters, you guys are spoiled because whatever, we're not winning games and doing anything crazy on offense because our defense is playing so well, brother, you've got some real soul searching to do. They are anemic running the ball. I know they're dealing with some injuries on the offensive line, but there's just no excuse. And Nussmeier's not playing up to a standard that's, anything close to what we have come to expect. And we've said it for weeks now, Gio, those similar to Penn State, the guys they brought in at the wide receiver position are so underwhelming. Like, is it because they're not getting open? Or is it because the whole offense sucks? Or is it a Nussmeier thing? I don't know. But that group has been really disappointing. In Blake Baker's defense, although they kept Ole Miss off the scoreboard as much as they probably would have liked to, they got bullied in this game. I thought Lane Kiffin just coached circles around Brian Kelly and Blake Baker in this game. Ole Miss deserved to win this game by a lot more than they did.
Yeah.
Do I think they deserve to shoot up to 4 in the AP poll? I don't know. Yeah. But they have asserted themselves, I guess, as this, for lack of a better team to beat in the SEC right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought there was a moment that really goes to show that Ole Miss should have probably won this game by a lot more, and it shouldn't have been a 1-score game. And that was the situation where there's a huge fumble for a touchback. It's early in the game, but it kept it 7-3 LSU, and it didn't let Ole Miss score. And LSU ends up not doing anything with it, right? But again, a situation where, I don't know, a couple of turning points in the game, right? A couple of things that stood out to me as well. Like the 3rd and 14 in the 4th quarter, the confidence on the throw by Chambliss, especially because he's bouncing back after that interception where, again, just poor decision. He's rolling out to the right, facing pressure. I don't really know why he throws that ball. To his point and his credit, those back shoulder throws down the right sideline kept working. So he was trying to work that again, but this time he was on the run and it wasn't the right move. Right. I thought the rope he throws on that 3rd and 14 in the 4th quarter, I was like, dude, this kid's got something, And then the big thing for me, like you said, LSU can't throw the ball and they're struggling because they can't run it. Yeah. And how are you supposed to set up the pass if you can't run it at all?
They're predictable.
I think it's a serious problem for LSU is their inability to run the ball. And then the thing I wanted to touch on that I don't think either one of us touched on, the difference for Ole Miss, I feel like the last handful of years has been the offense has always been good. Like Matt Corral had a humming offense there, right?
Yeah.
And Jackson Dart had a humming offense there. And I don't feel like they ever had a defense that can contend in the SEC. And I think Lane Kiffin has a defense that can seriously put them on a run in the playoffs. That defense looked so impressive. They were generating pressure. It felt like they were giving Nussmeier such a hard time. They were creating tackle for loss opportunities, like havoc plays that don't even necessarily result in turnovers. I just thought that defense was playing with a relentless edge, flying all over the field, swarming to the ball, playing with big hit ability. Like that defense looked like it was flying all over the place. I was really impressed with Ole Miss's defense on Saturday.
And they had a good defense last year, but it just didn't show in key moments. Like, they had a number of first, second round picks on that defense, right? Like Walter Nolan was there last year. Trey Amos was there last year. They had playmakers across the board. Mm-hmm. It just didn't always manifest itself in a big game because other teams had the offensive firepower to fight back. LSU does, but to your point, they don't. It's such a mismatch of weaknesses that they can't get anything going offensively. I think we talked so much about, the last time LSU's receivers were this good is when Jaden Daniels was there and they won the Heisman. That Jaden Daniels team couldn't really run the ball with their running backs as much as they would have liked to. They just had the most dynamic player in the sport on offense. So defenses had to respect Jaden and his ability to run the ball, which led to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas taking the top off. They don't have that this year. So defenses know what's coming. They can play you deep. And if you want to take it short and intermediate, we're just going to rally to the ball. So they can't run. And because their passing game is so predictable, they are very stoppable. Their pass versus run game at LSU is like the stoppable force and the movable object. Like nothing's good down there. So I give a ton of credit to Ole Miss. This game kind of showed how good they are and finally bit LSU for the weaknesses that they have. So again, it went about as I expected it to, maybe just a little bit more emphatically.
I love, final point on this game, I love when a team goes out there and ends the game on their terms. Obviously, they did that with the fourth down conversion. But I think LSU goes on this, really, their best drive of the day came when they needed it. Late in the fourth quarter, they go on that drive to make it 24-19, right? Mm-hmm. And Nuss looked pretty good on that drive, and they got things going a little bit. They get the 2-point stuffed, which again, it's like a 3-yard loss on a handoff. That again goes back to what I thought the defensive line for Ole Miss was able to do in this game. But then there's 5 minutes and 4 seconds left on the clock. You're thinking, especially I know Ole Miss had a great day on defense, but if you're an LSU fan, you're thinking we're gonna get the ball back, right?
Yeah, no. We just got to get one stop in 5 minutes.
They didn't let them touch the ball again. I love when game ends like that. Because that's such a assert your dominance type of thing. Like that's how Syracuse beat Miami last year at the end. Like we're not going to let you touch the ball again. There's 5 minutes left and we're going to run this thing right out. We're going to get a couple of big handoffs, tote the rock. And when we need to throw it a couple times, we're going to do it and come up huge. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. I call them Max Holloway drives, right? They say, come here, meet me in the middle. And then they knock you out. Yeah. Like that's the Max Holloway. That's the Max Holloway effect.
Yeah. I like that a lot. One more big game to talk about here. How about Virginia taking down number 8 Florida State? This might seriously be one of the games of the year. Such a cool scene in Charlottesville. For all the flack we give that program because we are 2 Virginia Tech alumni, you guys, we gotta clap it up for them because the scene was pretty top tier. Might be the greatest field storming I've ever witnessed.
It also might be the last.
It was seriously unsafe, which is what made it so awesome.
Because of the hill. The hill makes it so unserious. Like they didn't even try to stop those kids.
There was no stopping this. As soon as the ball hit the ground, I mean, everyone's seen the video. The field storm. It was genuinely unsafe, is what it was.
A stampede. It was a stampede.
but from a college football fan's point of view, it was awesome.
Pretty rad.
Pretty awesome. I can't
Have you
believe
ever been a part of a field storm?
No, I don't really want to. It looks scary.
So I have, but you kind of have to like. For me, it was very slow. It was in Columbus when they beat Penn State in 2019.
That's a
You kind of
hard
have to
field to storm.
It is. You got to kind of work your way down. Then you got to
Yeah.
jump off the ledge, essentially. Like, it's not easy because it's not meant to be easy.
Right.
That is a stadium where storming the field. I mean, tech students do it. Tech students do it every other year. And it's pretty easy in a situation like Scott Stadium's used to having where no one is there. This was a situation where the kids came out and made an impact in this game. And so, I respect the field storm. It was dope to watch. Like I was laughing out loud because of how crazy it was watching it. But on the other hand, I'm like, I recognize the concerns here. So I gotta say, this game kicked off at 7:00 on Friday night.
Yeah.
I went and saw a movie at 7:00 on Friday night. I saw that new Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio film, One Battle After Another. Yeah. Gotta say, it's one of the best movies I've watched in several years.
Good flick.
Several.
Right. I'll have to check it out. I love
phenomenal.
Leo.
Yeah, he's and PTA is amazing. So like them coming together and making a movie, I think should sweep the Academy Awards in February. But that's aside from the point. So I saw two films on Friday night. This game and the Arizona State game for that matter. I saw 3. So I got out and it was 21-21. And I was like, that's interesting. I knew Virginia might play it close, but that's crazy. Caught up on everything, then watched the second half. And Virginia, man, that offense is real. Yeah. That offense is really real. And we knew that going into this game, but this was going to be their first test because NC State's not getting anybody out of bed in the morning. They were a machine. For them to have scored, I understand this game went to double overtime, right? To score
they scored field goals in the first overtime.
Exactly. And they turned the ball over 3 times.
Both teams did. 3 turnovers a pop.
And this was still as high scoring as it was. Like, you don't do that with bad offenses. Or bad defenses for that matter. Florida State does not have a bad defense. I do not subscribe to that theory. I think Chandler Morris, just despite any interceptions he threw and mistakes that he made, just kept on bouncing back. And he's an absolute dog. Jamari Taylor, running back, is an absolute dog.
Yes.
Like Tony Elliott has those guys
and playing. Trell Harris, the receiver.
Exactly. Tony Elliott has those guys playing at a very high level. I don't know how, but we talk about it so often. The impact that one transfer portal class can have on a team year over year. They are playing at a ridiculously high level on offense. Their defense isn't anything fantastic, but Tony Elliott's the offensive guy.
Right.
And their offense has been abysmal ever since he got there. And it feels like finally, sometimes this is why you got to wait it out with a coach. Finally, he got the guys that he's wanted. And you're seeing the impacts of it. Florida State did not lose this game because Scott Stadium's this crazy place to play. They lost it because UVA was a better football team than them.
Yes.
Which is an absurd thing to say at any point in time. So Virginia, party like it's 1995, 30 years after they did this to Florida State, they do it again. We can talk about Florida State, Gio, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. We can talk about Deuce Robinson dropping that pass in the end zone. We can talk about all that, but it doesn't really matter. This is about Virginia and Virginia only, in my opinion.
I said last week that I thought acquiring Chandler Morris out of the portal was a job-saving acquisition for Tony Elliott. This win not only validated that, but I think this win validates a statement like Tony Elliott's the right guy to be the head coach in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, it's not an easy place to win. It's not. Say what you will. It's not an easy place to win football games. And they haven't done a lot of that. And that's fair and all. But again, yeah, you get the right pieces in there. He's showing what you can do. Now, they do have question marks on the defensive side of the ball for the rest of the year going forward. Still thought the defense stepped up at times. They created 3 turnovers in this game. And we know how good Florida State's offense is as well, is the other piece of this, right?
Deuce Robinson had a remarkable game. Even with the drop at the end.
Dude was a beast.
He was unreal. But I do think That's a brutal one to drop. That
Dude,
throw by Castellanos was perfect.
and I do want to talk about Thomas Castellanos because I thought, besides what, maybe probably one of his interceptions, I thought he played a pretty remarkable game.
Yeah, I mean, one pick was on 4th down with the game on the line. Last play of the game.
Right. I thought he was awesome. No, he threw a pick earlier in the game, I believe.
He did, but
yeah.
I think that was 2 interceptions in the game, right? So
right. I thought he was awesome. He's so hard to bring down with his legs. He's so shifty, but the poise that he had in big moments, like that fourth and goal to Pittman was nuts. To force overtime, that play was nuts, and that was far from the other one. I thought
the roll out and he puts it right where his guy can get it. Does perfect play.
I thought Castellanos was awesome. So was Chandler Morris. I actually thought Chandler Morris put the ball in harm's way too much. Like, that is my one knock on him. He put the ball in harm's way quite a bit, and it bit him a couple times, right? They turned the ball over 3 times.
He thinks he's Johnny Manziel, and he's got a bit of that in him.
Yeah.
But he's got like the Johnny Manziel angel and the Johnny Manziel devil on his shoulder.
Right. There were a couple times I'm like, triple coverage, bro. Like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I mean? It's still, he played a heck of a ball game. I thought the difference maker in this game was Jamari Taylor, though, bro. He was that one play, Oklahoma drill style, should be like a 2-yard run, and he gets met and he gets walloped, right? Boom, shoulder to shoulder. And the guy doesn't wrap up. He just hits him, and he hits him like a wall. And Taylor bounces right off of him and fast track to the end zone. And I was like, he got thumped and kept his balance without issue. It wasn't like he got knocked back or anything. Dude just kept, boom, bounced right off of him, and it was his own express lane to the end zone. So that was just one play. I thought Taylor was awesome. You look at what these teams did on offense. Yeah, like nobody was playing defense. I know they each created 3 turnovers. Nobody was playing defense in this game.
No.
Florida State.
That was more bad offense than good defense.
Florida State ran the ball for 256 yards, and Virginia ran the ball for 211 yards. You want to talk about run pass split? Florida State ran the ball for 256 yards, and they threw the ball for 258 yards. That's
crazy.
Remarkable. And Virginia very close to the same. 229 through the air, 211 on the ground.
We talked about the targeting thing with Oregon, Penn State, so I'm curious to get your opinion on this because Norvell was pissed.
Okay.
Do you think Virginia should have gotten away with putting their extra point team on the field in double overtime when they had to go for 2? Remember, Norvell was like they should be penalized for that because they just reset the play clock. There was no delay of game. There was no 15-yard penalty or anything like that. I don't know why they would have penalized them 15 yards anyways, but maybe there should have been a delay of game, right? And then UVA puts their offense out there. The play is still ran from the 2 or 3 yard line, whatever it was, and they get the 2-point conversion. I know Florida State doesn't score anyways, but was there a point to be made there, do you think? Should UVA have gotten away with that one?
I'm trying to rethink through it in my head.
Because Norvell was hot.
Yeah, I know. It didn't matter, right? Because they threw a pick.
Right. So then let me ask you. Yeah. So then let me ask you, should the Deuce Robinson touchdown have remained a touchdown, or did they get it right?
I think they got that right. I don't think that was a catch.
I agree. I think the only people who disagree are people that are wearing garnet and gold on Saturday.
I don't think that was a catch.
I don't think it was a catch either. I think it's a brutal drop by a kid that had a phenomenal game. Like I said, Castellanos, that was his best throw of the night, in my opinion. That was a laser up the seam.
You're talking about the one where he's tapping it a bunch of times and bobbling? That wasn't a catch. Yes. I don't think that was a catch. It was
not a catch. And for them to have ruled it a catch on the field, but then gone and overturned it, I think is really well done. Listen, the ACC letting us in on the conversations that they have with the officials is pretty cool. I hate that we were the sacrificial lamb that had to make it happen, but hey, sometimes for the greater good, things must be done. And Virginia Tech's always on the losing end of that equation.
Just ask Frank Beamer's 2-26 record against
top blame it on them. So Virginia was a better team in this game, deserved to win, deserved to be ranked. And with a Charmin soft ACC schedule, Giovanni, Virginia is a contender in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Dude,
they are a contender.
huge game, like massive game as far as that middle to upper tier of the ACC duking it out. You got Virginia at Louisville this upcoming weekend. We'll save it for our picks talk later in the week, but we might have to feature that one, even though Louisville's a 4-0 unranked team.
Yeah. I mean, they just had a really nice win at Pitt. They were down 17-0 in the first quarter, and they came back to win it. So
exactly.
That was a hell of a win for Jeff Brom and Miller Moss.
That game, and if you're an ACC fan, that Virginia-Louisville game is the second best game on the slate. And the only one better is Miami-Florida State. So,
yeah, I agree.
So that Virginia-Louisville game is huge. I'm going to be fascinated to see that. I think the last thing on this, I'm glad Squirrel White is okay. I was genuinely concerned for his well-being.
Me too. Dude,
I was like,
it was like in The Lion King when Simba looks up at the wildebeest that are coming out, and he's like
dude, he literally got stampeded.
He literally got Mufasa. It was crazy. So I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah, because he's a heck of a ball player as well. Last thing I wanted to say about this, I do think Florida State, obviously you look at this like, okay, Florida State, we probably got a little too high on them when they beat the brakes off of Alabama. I do think they're a serious contender in the ACC still. And I still think your top three in the ACC are your top three. Maybe Georgia Tech has leaped in front of them, but Georgia Tech barely survived against Wake Forest as well. It was, I think, narratives-wise, Florida State losing at Virginia was horrible for the conference from a national perspective.
Yeah, awful. I agree.
Awful. Because you just need your big brands in Miami, Florida State, and
just keep winning.
You just need them to keep winning. You need teams to be in the top 10. And Florida State losing this game and dropping out of the top 10, and I get Virginia's rank now and everything, just bad for the league. Because Virginia's name is never going to get them in the top 10 unless they're like undefeated, right?
Yeah, this isn't basketball.
So
or lacrosse.
It was rough for the conference. If Georgia Tech would have lost, it would have been like cataclysmic for the conference.
Yes.
And we would have been like, oh, great. The ACC is going to get one team into the playoff, aren't they?
Yeah.
So,
but at least they're an elite team in Miami.
I agree, but you want many dogs in the race as possible.
You need the depth.
So from a league perspective, that was unfortunate that the Noles couldn't get it done. And I'll leave you with this. Big Game Bomb and Louis Riddick might be my favorite pairing in college football. Like, I love Herbie and Fowler, and I love my boy Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge. They cook it up. There's lots of great broadcast crews. Sean McDonough gets it going. Like that. Joe Tessitore. I'm a big fan of the craft, but Big Game Bob hits in a different way, man.
And his games always seem to have these electric finishes that help him get up to the moment. Like, It's almost like the universe is like, if Big Game Bob's on the call, we got to make it a big game.
Yeah.
It's insane.
He's done 2 Syracuse games this year. He did the Syracuse-Tennessee game and the Syracuse-Clemson game. When does that ever happen? You get Big Game Bomb twice in 4 weeks?
That's a blessing from upstairs. And I think Louis Riddick is pretty fantastic.
I think he's great as well. And love Lewis. This is more of a Bob thing, but no, you need a good you need a good analyst, and Lewis is great. I mean, Lewis is great because he's one of those guys we look forward to hearing on Get Up talking NFL football with Mike Greenberg, Dan Orlovsky, Damian Woody, Adam Schefter.
But it needs to be a mesh, right? Like, this is completely aside from the point. Jason Benetti is a fantastic play-by-play commentator. I hate RG3 as a color analyst. So I don't
you're
like
an RG3 guy.
Well, I used to be an RG3 guy. I like, the idea of that booth, but I don't like listening to it because as much as I want to listen to Benetti, most of the talking is done by the color guy. And I don't like listening to RG3, and I don't want to hear what he has to say about a football game. I'd rather just listen to Benetti. So maybe in the future, like YouTube TV will have a setting where you can only listen to the play-by-play guy, or like listen to the crowd noise, but not the booth. That would be gas. I know I'm coming off like an RG3 hater. I kind of am, but this is not an RG3 hit piece. I promise. We should just move on.
This is coming from a diehard Washington fan here. Let's wrap up here by touching on just very briefly some of the other massive games this weekend. We'll start with Ohio State going on the road. We were worried about this one. I picked Washington to pull off the upset. You picked Washington to cover. Neither took place. In fact,
That's
Ohio
right.
State asserted themselves triumphantly by winning 24-6 and scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter to really put a
Yep.
stamp on it. So
Yep.
impressive stuff out of the Buckeyes.
Yep. I thought it was comfortably, now granted the sample size is very small, comfortably Julian Saint's best game of his career. He looked completely in control. Dude, Gary Danielson like fell in love with Julian Saint on Saturday. By the fourth quarter, I'm not sure if you were watching this game or you were watching Ole Miss, but like
I was working because
that's
the noon game had just ended. So I'm on the air for about an hour and a half. Usually we do an hour post game, but we're getting so many callers because of the tragedy that happened in the Dome. And so I'm working, and then I go to a tailgate after because I got invited, and then I'm no, I missed that whole second window, really. And I had to go back and rewatch. So I did go back, but continue. I'm sorry.
Gary Danielson fell in love with Julian Saint. He was like, well, when this kid walks into the meeting, you're like, you don't look like a football player, but then he lets it rip and you're like, oh my goodness, you can see why he's a 5-star recruit, which is true. They really made a concerted effort to get Jeremiah Smith the ball, which I can appreciate. And I thought Bo Jackson continued to assert himself as the best running back in that room, although CJ Donaldson and James Peoples are fantastic as well. And Ohio State's defense was just unreal. I think the number was 7 sacks. Caden Curry had 3 of them. Caden McDonald had another 2, I want to say. Amazing game for Ohio State across the board. And again, tying back to what I said at the beginning, asserted themselves as having the best roster in college football, man. It's them until proven otherwise. They can do everything. Yeah. Like, you can probably look back on this game and say Ohio State, like, struggled, and it was still a ho-hum 18-point win where they didn't allow a touchdown. Like, they are as close to a super team as we have in college football right now because they have no holes, no weaknesses.
Yeah, props to them for sure. How about Arizona State? Friday night, number 24 TCU rolls into town. The Sun Devils.
Easiest call ever. I know it wasn't easy in the moment, but such an easy call for us.
Like for Arizona State to win?
Yes.
Yeah. We both thought Arizona State was going to win because Kenny Dillingham don't lose at Sun Devil Stadium. It's just different, bro. First of all, uniform matchups. The UVA Florida State uniform matchup was unbelievable. And then this Arizona State TCU game was double moi. Unbelievable. Uniforms were great. Arizona State with the blackout, TCU with the white purple. Very, 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 very Big 12. New Big 12. Very new Big 12. Anywho, comeback win for the Devils.
Feels very Alamo Bowl, if anything else.
True. Comeback win for the Devils. Leavitt looked pretty darn good when they needed him.
Yes.
Fourth quarter was awesome. They scored 10 points to TCU 0 to make the comeback complete, and they get it done. So shout out Arizona State. I think they're back in the Big 12 conversation, but Texas Tech is still the team to beat.
Yeah, I thought Arizona State was by far the better team in this game. Just kept on shooting themselves in the foot. Turnovers, missed field goals, untimely mistakes. I think TCU started each half pretty hot, but Arizona State played so much better down the stretch in the second half and then did what they had to do. In the first half, right? The second quarter, they played really well and then did what they had to do down the stretch. So I thought Arizona State played a hell of a game, their best game of the season by far, in my opinion. Jordan Tyson is just unreal. Yeah. He's just an unreal player. And Leavitt is feeling a lot more comfortable. So, I mean, I texted you this on Friday night while you were fast asleep. I was up at 2 a.m. watching this absolute masterclass.
You're a maniac. I was on the air at 9 a.m. I had to go to bed.
Yeah, I worked on Saturday morning too. I clocked into work at 9 a.m. as well.
You're built different than me. You're built different than me. Because I can't do that.
Yeah, if this game was close, I would have cared. Like I fell asleep to the sweet sounds of Mark Jones calling BYU Colorado on Saturday because I was like, I just don't care. But I really wanted to see how this game finished. Arizona State, man, they're back in the conversation at the top of the Big 12. Now back in the AP poll, they're going to get some love down the stretch here. I think we might be on the crash course to an Arizona State Texas Tech championship game, but we're still 3 months away. We're still two we're still 2-3 months away, so I think it still might be too early to tell.
Yes, that was my pick for that championship game.
Yes, it was.
You should have seen me last night falling asleep to Sunday Night Football, waking up in a daze like, that's a 40-40 tie.
Dude, it was a banger. I can't believe it.
It was a great game. I went back and watched the condensed on the treadmill this morning. How about Indiana? Fernando Mendoza on 13 completions, passes for 233 yards. 2 of his 13 completions were touchdowns. They get it done 20-15. 10 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, this just goes to show like Iowa's defense is going to show up no matter what.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who they're playing. But Indiana keeps rolling. Let's see. Tennessee over Mississippi State. A little bit of a banger of a game. Tennessee.
It was a bit of a banger of a game on the SEC network.
Yeah, 14 points.
Listen, Mississippi State's a good football team.
I
think Tennessee is a really good. Tennessee is a really good football team. I think Mississippi State's pretty good. That was a fun one. I think both of those teams are good. Mississippi State still deserves to get the love that they're getting. To go back one step, with Indiana over Iowa, because again, I thought that game went about as I expected it to. I thought Iowa was largely the better team. I not the better team, but you could have said they deserved to win down the stretch, and then they obviously give up that big play on the, like, what was it, 3rd and 13, where Surratt runs that dig and takes it the distance on the missed tackle. That was a brilliant play by Fernando Mendoza, who had a number of jaw-dropping throws in this game. That dude's just a stud. My biggest takeaway from Indiana, Iowa, I cannot wait to watch bad beats tonight, because Fernando Mendoza running the ball all the way back for the safety on the last play of the game, where Kurt Cignetti was losing his mind that they weren't taking more time off the clock on the kneel downs, which was totally valid, which led to Iowa backdoor covering the 6.5. Bad beats tonight is going to be
crazy.
Cinema. I cannot wait to, like, that might go in the montage. I don't know if you saw when Penn State played Villanova and Villanova.
Yes, I saw that. That crazy catch.
That play is now in the opening montage of bad beats.
Right.
It's that legendary. I think this could also make it, because that was, dude, it's a negative 50-yard safety on the left. He didn't need to take a safety. Just slide at the 5-yard line or something.
Yeah.
So, thank God I didn't have action on this game, because I would have broken a television.
The crazy thing is that goes against the poor guy's rushing yards. That's being a team player.
Yeah, it goes against the team's rushing yards too. I would have just been like, run laterally. Don't go all the way back.
Right. That's not caring about anything but winning the game right there. Georgia Tech, 30-29, win over Wake Forest. Probably shouldn't have won the game, but got it done. Definitely the biggest scare the Yellow Jackets have had. Yeah,
I think Wake Forest got jobbed a little bit on the offsides, no call, right? Robbie Ashford thinks it's a free play. He lets it fly. There's no flag. The thing falls incomplete. Georgia Tech gets the ball back, tie the game, win it in overtime. Really impressed with the fight I saw out of Wake Forest. Robbie Ashford wanted that one really bad. I felt terrible for him at the end of the game, throwing the interception, just trying to make a play. They go for 2 to win it. So impressed with Georgia Tech's fight and resilience. Again, the Haynes King quarterback power, you know it's coming, but you don't know how to stop it. So credit to Georgia Tech for their resilience, but feel terrible for Wake Forest.
I'll say this again, though. Haynes King carried the ball 21 times. You can't make a run in the college football playoffs if your quarterback's going to run it 20 plus times every week. I'm sorry.
No.
But I'll die on that hill until proven otherwise, especially because he gets hurt every year. I digress. Banger game in Champaign, 34-32. Illinois takes down USC. This was an awesome game. I thought USC was going to win this thing the way it was trending. And then
you picked them to win. You picked them to win the game outright. I took the fighting Brett Bielema's.
You did. And USC definitely did all they could to try and make it happen. 15 points in the fourth quarter, but Illinois gets it done. Heck of an atmosphere there in Champaign.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Jaden Mayava was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic in this game. And their receivers are so good. I mean, Mekhi Lemon is playing himself into a first-round pick, maybe. For a guy his size, it might be a little tricky, but he's playing himself into that conversation. This was an awesome quarterback battle. It was offensive explosions. It was more Lincoln Riley complaining about playing at noon, whatever. Impressed with Illinois' resilience, man. That's how you pick yourself up off the mat after getting embarrassed by Indiana the week before. Again, not how I expected it to happen, although I thought Illinois would win the game. Good for them. And I was so certain that they were going to shank that game-winning kick. And that kid, it was close. He had to slide it in a little bit.
Yeah.
But credit to him for making it, and happy for that Illinois squad.
Last one, I didn't see it coming. Jeremiah Love and Notre Dame absolutely embarrass Arkansas in Fayetteville. 56-13 final score. Jeremiah Love has 4 touchdowns in the first half. It was ridiculous, so ridiculous that that was it for Sam Pittman.
Mm-hmm. I turned this game off very quickly.
I didn't even watch it. It was at noon, though. I was working.
I mean, I had the Lucius Fox set up, with like 17 different games on.
As you should.
This one was turned off in the second quarter because, listen, Notre Dame, for as porous as their defense has been known to be, played fantastic. They came up with a lot of timely turnovers in this game. And then their offense is spooky when they're playing like this, man. I think CJ Carr is legit. CJ Carr is the best quarterback they've had in a long time in South Bend. The combination of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price is the best 1-2 punch at running back in the country, in my opinion, better than the one in Penn State.
Really? Because of Love. You think the alpha's better?
Because of Price.
You think so? Because I think Katron Allen's a dog.
But in my mind, Singleton's the better of the two backs. But like, they don't play up to that standard often enough. Price and Love play up to the standard every single game. They, in my opinion, I think that they're better because I think that they are more dynamic. Singleton and Allen are both like, it's like here's a comparison for you. The Sonic and Knuckles duo in Detroit.
I knew you were going to say that.
David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Allen and Singleton is like if you had 2 David Montgomerys. Love and Price is like if you had 2 Jahmyr Gibbses. Valid. So I think that the level of athleticism and how dynamic each of them are, they both spam the triangle button because they love to hurdle guys 24/7. They are so dynamic. And defenses now have to respect CJ Carr, which opens up the running game that much. Defenses don't really respect Drew Aller like that. So this Notre Dame offense is going to be humming. If they don't finish the year 10-2, it'll be a travesty. So this was step one. A lot of people thought this would be tricky for them. If this is the Notre Dame that we get for the next 2 months, they are going to be in the college football playoff.
Oh, I agree. They looked really, really impressive. And I thought Arkansas's offense at least would give them a shot to keep things interesting. So kudos to Notre Dame. Just to wrap up that thought, I think the better one is Jeremiah Love. I think Katron Allen is the better 2.
Price is having a crazy good year.
He is. I love Katron Allen. I really do. Especially because what we saw when Singleton got banged up last year, and we got to see a lot of Katron Allen. I'm a fan of number 13 in navy blue. But I digress. This was a lengthy one, my friend. This was, but it was much deserved because of what the college football gods blessed us with.
Yeah, it had to be. This is the type of slate where you can sit down and talk about it for 5 hours, and we can't even touch on everything. We didn't even talk about Vanderbilt, and they're gonna be a game day. So, I mean, that's a fascinating one. We'll talk about later this week when they go to Tuscaloosa. But this was a phenomenal slate that, like I said, exceeded the hype in every way. It's the type of weekend that reminds you why you love college football so much. It had everything.
I know it's like all downhill from here because I don't know how you beat this slate.
Next week has a really tall, task, big shoes to fill.
Yeah. We'll see how it all shakes out for sure. We didn't even talk about Yassine Willis's hurdle in the dome, the lone bright spot for my Syracuse. We didn't even talk about the Virginia Tech Hokies. Clap it up.
Hey, I'm proud to throw on the Tech merch this week.
Uncle Phil went down to Raleigh and took care of business.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. It looked like a completely different Virginia Tech team.
More than anything, under Brent Pry, Virginia Tech was extremely predictable. I don't think they're going to be predictable for the rest of the season under Philip Montgomery. And I give a ton of credit to the coaches. I give a ton of credit to the players for sticking in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to see this thing out the rest of the year, man. They're going to be a tough out, I think. They're not going to be world beaters, but they're going to be a tough out, and they're going to be a feisty football team. I'm very proud of the Virginia Tech Hokies this week.
Yes, I'm with you there. And they won a 1-score game. How refreshing.
Praise the Lord. Who knew it was possible?
Yeah, no question. I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up. As always, we're going to cut this thing up. So if you don't want to watch the full form thing, or that's not your type of vibe, or if you want to send something to somebody like, hey, you're a big fan of Penn State, I'm going to go send this to my buddy. Like, send him the short form version, because we're going to cut this thing up. Each big game's going to have its own segment. So we'll put that up. Raza, tell the people where they can find us on social media.
They can find us at Got It Covered FB on every social media forum. You guys see more posts flowing in? Not a coinkydink. Like I told you, it's not just short form 15-minute videos. Try short form 45 to 60-second videos to put in your coffee and stir it up in the morning, because that's where our brains are at these days. If it ain't 60 seconds, it ain't going to cut it. So
I want it now.
Got It Covered FB on all your socials of choice: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. A lot more is coming your way, man. This is the type of video where you're going to get a lot of stuff in your inbox. So stay tuned.
Yeah, this is
and also, for the folks on YouTube, which is where we're at, liking, commenting, subscribing, share the show with a friend. I wish we could rate it 5 stars, but this ain't exactly Spotify. But any and all interactions help us out tremendously. So we appreciate everybody who is rallying with us as we keep on chugging along. Man, if it was up to me, we could do an episode like breaking down the Major League Baseball postseason, but we can't do that because it's all football all the time.
All football all the time. And as a good friend of mine once said, ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, you don't want to talk about how the Red Sox are going to go beat the Yankees in the Bronx this week?
Not without Roman Anthony, I fear, but we'll see how it all plays
out.
Anything
is possible. Anything is possible.
We'll see how it all plays out. It's so funny how my mind is. I was all in on baseball all summer. Go Sox. Spent the last 2 summers working for the Red Sox organization down in Salem. And then as soon as football season started, I was like, we do not care.
No, we do not care.
But now we can watch a little bit of baseball on the off nights for football. I'm looking at you Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm looking at you to pull me through.
Dude, they're going to do a lot of heavy lifting during the days and the nights.
Indeed. For Raza, I'm Giovanni. This was a fun one. We'll talk to you next time on Got It Covered.